A kid named Temu is getting beat half to death on the Chagorian plains for stealing a horse when a stranger walks up and says one word, enough. And the people who are beating this child scatter. And then the stranger asks Temu his name, then his age. 12, the boy says, and the stranger murmurs to himself. Not too late, and then tells him, come with me. That man is Jagatai Khan. So today we're talking about the White Scars finally. Yippee! Yes, welcome back to Ultra Morons. Me, your host as usual, Lane, and I got
Connor back again.
In this episode, we're talking about White Scars. We brought them up a couple of times now, kind of glossed over them. So this time we're actually going to get into what they're about. I would say probably my favorite Legion, just because I really like the way they look, the way their like style, their culture, and they're like one of the only like real like cultured Space Marines. I mean, that's bad to say because other ones do have culture, but they're very like you can separate them from other Space Marines pretty easily. Mm-hmm. Like obviously you can do it with the Salamanders too, but like you know what a White Star looks like, you know how they move, right? They have like different type of weapons. They're kind of different in their own way.
Right.
Like sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between like an Ultramarine and like a Blood Angel, you know? Like I guess Blood Angels are usually prettier, but like
not a huge like
or Imperial fists in Ultramarines. Like what's the difference?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyways, last time we left off, we had the trial of Conrad Kurz, found out that the Empire is still alive, or not Empire, the Emperor is still alive, and got ahead of himself, make himself Emperor. Well, I guess he didn't, Gilman did, but whatever. And the triumvirate ended, and now they're going to go back to Terra and talk to the Emperor. Oh,
curious. So maybe we talked about this in the last one, but with the kind of Second Empire, however you want to call it, right? Imperial, Secundus, whatever.
Yep.
Do you
2 and 11?
2-11. Okay.
Yes.
Do you think does the Emperor know about this kind of Second Empire, and then also, do you think, like, if he did, would he kind of get rid of them? Do you think?
I don't know. I think it's hard because I think probably not because basically the information they had, it is like, well, fair. Would they be punished? It's hard to say because Emperor's kind of weird in a lot of his stuff, and especially we'll see when we start talking more like we get into Master of Mankind. Mm-hmm. He like knows everything kind of. He's kind of omniscient, but he's also not like he can. There's a quote in the book basically talking to Malcador, and he says, you know, let's say we're on an island, and then there's another island we want to get to that's way over there. Let's say a mile away. I can see every way we can get to the island, but I can't see what's in the water. So it's kind of like that, where it's like, so if he let's say he saw that maybe Sanguinius might become his own emperor one day, and he's like, you know, oh, like, but maybe there's a reason he did that. So it's also at the same time, you look at Magnus, when Magnus was breaking the law. Well, when Magnus broke the law, he brought him back and was just going to kind of give him a trial. Right. We don't know if he's going to kill him because Lehman Russ was the one who got kind of tricked into killing him. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Probably not. I don't think we'd erase them because that's the hard part because 2 and 11, you just don't know what they did.
Right.
Like, was it something as crazy as starting their own empire, or was it something so simple as, I don't know, maybe they're friendly with aliens, you know?
Right.
So that's the weird thing. I don't know. It's hard to say. I would say, based on what I know, is that probably not. He would probably be a little annoyed, but you remember the Space Wolves were there too to make sure that it wasn't happening specifically. And they were supposed to kill whoever that broke that rule. And they didn't. So obviously it was justified in some way.
Right.
And also they stopped after they found out he was still alive. So
right, that's
a big thing too.
Okay. Yeah. I was just curious because I feel like if this was like any of the other legions kind of on the other
Horus?
side. Yeah, right. It'd be like, that's crazy. Why are you doing
Right. No, specifically with Horus, it's like, hey, you have no reason to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas Guilliman, Sanguinius, and the Lion did have a reason. So
right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to know. They're kept purposely ambiguous. But yes, so White Scars, and actually we're going to talk about White Scars today. And basically, whose side are they on? We don't know yet. So, yes, that stranger from the beginning is Jagatai Khan, who is the Primarch of the 5th Legion, the White Scars. But he doesn't actually raise Temu, though. He says, look, you look good. I'm going to send you over to this guy named Targute. I'm going to struggle with these names today. A lot of them are very difficult. Here's a picture of Targute. He is something called a Storm Seer. And a Storm Seer is basically a psyker. Whatever, don't worry about it. It is what it is. But the Nikaea, you don't worry about it. These aren't psychers or Storm Seers. It's different. You didn't say we can't have Storm Seers. So, yes, he's kind of in charge of Temu. And years later, eventually, Temu starts to become a Space Marine. He gets all the implants and stuff. And it's not he's not taking too well to it because it's just a dangerous process. It kills I think 1 out of 100 die. No, 1 out of 100 pass the test. 1 out of 100 would be a great number. 1 out of 100 pass, but Temu's hanging in there, and Yesugei tells him something that he calls the principle of the minor flaw. That every soul carries a weakness somewhere, and it's better you find yours early while it can still be survived and let it grow unseen until it becomes monstrous. Yeah. And then Temu asks, would that also apply to the Khan? And Targute says, he will be an exception to the rule. He's flawless. Don't worry about him. Don't worry what he's doing. So Yesugei ends up leaving for the Great Crusade. And then Temu finishes his training alone and ascends in the formal ceremony run by a guy named Hasek Noyan Khan. Do I have a picture of Hasek? I do not. No, I don't have a picture of Hasek. But this is kind of what a young Jagatai Khan looks like with his horse that also has the lightning. It's a little funny, but whatever. So he finishes his training with Hasek, and Hasek is very trusted. He's been there forever, so he knows what he's doing. And Hasek checks the ritual scar on the cheek. So they're called white scars because they all make a scar on their face that turns white because of scarring, right? So they're called white scars. Okay. And he does that. And he says, okay, you've done that process. It's like the last thing they do. Every legion kind of has a thing they do at the end. So like for Blood Angels, they basically drink the blood of Sanguinius and then sleep in a coffin for I think a year. And if they can survive that process, then they're good, I think, or something like that. Basically, they become like vampires, kind of, and they all die of vampirism. It's really weird. If Space Wolves like drink a bunch of alcohol or something, and like have like a big party, salamanders have to like go like through fire, literally, or something. They all have like a little different thing they do. Imperial Fist, old lore, they used to go down to this like massive vault, and they used to eat something from this like bowl of these like perfectly round things. And apparently, it was supposed to be Dorn's, I say, waste. That's not really a thing anymore.
What? That's not in the lore still?
Yeah, the Dorn Boot Vault, as it's called. No, it is not a thing. It's very just like, huh? But yes. Also because it's like, I don't think Primarchs and Space Marines even have those functions anymore. Like that, you never really see it any story of them doing that. I think it's all recycled.
Okay.
So, yes, they all have like a little thing they do at the end, a little graduation thing. So Hasek checks the scar, says good to go, and he gives him a glaive, and he says, what is your new name? What is your white scar's name? And he says, Shiban. And I do have a picture of Shiban, and that's what he looks like. A little later on, obviously, he's a little older, but that's kind of his look. And that sword there, that's that Chinese Dao with the rings on it. Very cool power sword. So, at the same time, back on Terra, there's a teenage boy named Heron Svensellen, there we go, is running an endurance trial through freezing rain and trying to get a place in the Luna Wolves, which is Horus's legion. So this is before Horus became Sons of Horus and the Horus heresy.
Right.
And he basically runs into this wall, and he is in a wall, looks up, it's a giant space wolf. And he said, you didn't give up easily, and you'll make good 16th Legion material. And Heron believes it, but he's, he won't. Mm-hmm. So eventually he finishes 26th out of 32 in his class, and one place short of what Luna Wolves needed. So they basically will take the top 25. He got 26. You're not getting in here, buddy. Yeah. And he gets told that he's being reassigned, and he says, I do not wish to be reassigned. And he says, it doesn't matter what you wish. You're assigned to the 5th Legion, the White Scars, and you're told you're going to get a new name. It takes about 14 years to get acclimated. So he's got to learn a new language, new culture, and they learn how they fight. It's tricky because most of the White Scars come from the planet I just said. How am I so bad with these names? Trigoris. And so he has to go there, basically learn all their stuff. Whereas usually if you take a White Scar from Trigoris, I think we talked about this last episode, like let's say Ultramarine, the 500 worlds are all Ultramarine culture. So if you're taking a child from there, they already know the language, they know the ways. So it's a lot easier versus this guy who's going from Terra to Trigoris, basically taking an American, putting him in Mongolia and saying, you figured out. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So does that happen a lot? Like, say someone failed whatever test for one legion, and then they're like, all right, go to the other one.
Depends. It depends on how they wanted to do it. Like, if you're close enough, then maybe like he was 26 to 25. So it's like, you still got it. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can still do something. Okay. But I think, like, we talk about Death Guard, Caleb, I think is his name. Mm-hmm. He was a aspirant, but then he ended up not graduating, so he just becomes like a house Carl instead. Yeah. Basically a servant for a Death Guard Marine. Mm-hmm. So they all have different things. Like Death Guard 2 is when they become Space Marines, and how he failed was at the end of a Death Guard, when they come to Space Marine, they have to go through like a plague endurance race. Mm-hmm. And if you survive, you're good, because basically is reflecting what Mortarion suffered on his world. Okay. So if you can survive it, that means you're good enough to be with Mortarion. Mm-hmm. And Caleb couldn't do it. He basically almost killed him. And they're like, well, at least you got this far, so we're going to make you a house guard. Which is it's not that they don't like doing it because they're still serving their legion.
Right.
It's just you're not a space marine,
Okay.
So yes, sometimes it happens, but depends on some other factors.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, for 14 years, he gets there and he struggles with it, and he gets a new name called Gemulin Noyan Khan, and he picks the name. Oh no, sorry, Gemulin Noyan Khan asks him to pick the name, and this kid picks the name out of a myth. Who's a servant who returns from hundreds of years of exile looking exactly young as the day he left. And he called himself Torghun. And a picture of Torghun. No, I don't. That's okay. I don't have pictures. But he's a white scar, so I can probably imagine what he looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And he is still wants to be a space wolf, right? A little bit. I mean, he's happy being a white scar because he's still serving the Emperor, but it's like, man, I could have been a space lunar wolf.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how it goes. So, back to the Horus Heresy. White Scars are now killing some orcs on a place called Chondax, a Chondax campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taking so long that they call the planet the White World because it's just like been so burned down and destroyed. It's just ashes on this world.
Okay.
And there is a guy there named Ilia Revilion, who is a general, a human general, not a space marine. Well, I guess space marines are humans, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Space marine general.
Yeah.
And he's got a great memory for logistics. And that's why he's in charge because he is just a good advisor and good at getting the numbers right. Ultramarines would love him. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. I think Ilia is a woman, actually. That was a he. Ilia, the woman, is a general. And she has an adjutant named Halji, and he comes to report on the astropathic choir. So the astropathic choir is, on spaceships, you can't just go into the warp, necessarily. You need one navigator to navigate it, and you need astropathic choir to basically sing a pathway into existence, is the best way I can phrase it. They usually are psychers, but they're not quite. It's like they use the power of psychic power to open up these pathways and kind of navigate things. It's very weird. But it's all magic, so there's no real explanation for it.
Yeah.
So he's talking to her about it, and he says, they cannot receive, they cannot send. Everything tried has failed. She says it's not her fault. How long has it been? Since arrival on Chondax. We've been here a long time, Halji. Master says blackouts are uncommon. He says the warp is a fickle place. So Ilia Revalion, isn't reassured, right? She's like, it's worrying me that we're like stuck here. And down on the surface of this planet, Shiban Khan is grown up now, right? And he is commanding his own ship called the Kaljian and is taking care of the rest of these orcs on this world called Phemis 4. And his second, named Joshi, calls him over to a magma field, and he sees these three bodies are like half eaten up by cooling slag. And he says, how did they die? And he says, this one by the blade at the throat. The others are unclear. He's looking over the bodies, and he's like, where are the Xenos bodies? He says, no signs unless perhaps buried deeply. So there's something weird going on here. Mm-hmm. These humans or these guys were killed not by orcs. Because orcs don't just cut your throat and just leave you. They'll smash you into pieces. They'll cut you up. It's a whole mess. Mm-hmm. Okay. Love fighting. Not pretty. So it's a little odd. And at Phemis 4, they're trying to excavate some stuff. And a trooper named Shell digs a small metal disc at a lava slope near a body. And it's heavy, tribal looking with a hawk's head engraved on one face and nothing on the other. And it's not Chagorian, because they use a lot of eagles and hawks and birds like that in their stuff. But this isn't their type of style. And it's also not melted at all, like not even destroyed. It's like, that's crazy. It's in lava. How did it not melt? And nobody recognizes it. And Shiban kind of just keeps it anyways. Like, maybe it's something. And all of a sudden he gets a message that says something has agitated them. And they're like, oh, so maybe the orcs or something. But so they go to leave, and they get recalled back to Chondax. And they don't get to finish this dig. They're like, okay, well, whatever. Let's leave this burning planet up. So back on a ship called the Star Sphere, Khan pulls a hood over his head and gives a little door chime, a little password. And inside are 13 other Terran-born White Scars waiting in cowled robes. And Shiban Khan asks proof. And he says, do you have it? He says, really, do we have to do this? It is a formality. Then we can get started. So Torghun hands over the medal. It is the hawk's head crossed the lightning strike. Haibu checks it, nods. And the rest of them pulls back their cowls. And is a warrior lodge. And we have talked about warrior lodges before and how they're very bad. Besides when Erebus gets into them. Or even Typhon with Luther. So they have their own warrior lodge. And it doesn't really feel at home with the Chagorians, right? Because he's not from there, right? he is wanting to be a Lunar Wolf. And so this lodge to him feels like Lunar Wolf stuff. This is what Lunar Wolves would do, so this is what I want to do. It's a mundane talk, right? This kind of talk about, it's a, what they call them, the Mason meeting.
Right.
So just talk about building, it's a pizza party, we're just hanging out. It's just guys doing guys, they're playing pool, it's whatever.
Yeah.
So nothing bad here. And so that happens, and we're going to cut back to Terra. Because somebody asked a question, they say, what side are the White Scars on? And there are three men that stand at the observatory of the Imperial Palace. You got Rolla Dorn, right? You know what Rolla Dorn looks like. Mm-hmm. Golden guy with his chainsword. And here's that John Blanche artwork where he has the gun too. Also that John Blanche of Jagged Icon. Just looks crazy. Wearing high heels.
Yeah.
Talent and profiling. So yes, Rolla Dorn, Constantine Valdor. And we covered Valdor a little bit, I think. He is a custodian, or custode, one of the 10,000 of the Emperor. He is on level with the Primarch, I'd say, in just ability and also just mentality, if not better, also in some ways, because custodes can't be corrupted. Mm-hmm. Warp just does not affect them. If it does, it takes a significant amount of work that Chaos doesn't want to put into it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it was like they have even better minds than Primarch in that way too. Like there's never been a custodes that have ever fallen to Chaos. Mm-hmm. He's there, and he is the Captain General of the Custodians, so he's the top guy. He's the Primarch of the Custodians, if you want to think about it like that. Okay. And Malcador, and we talked about Malcador before. There's my Malcador. There he is, sitting on his chair. Picture's so interesting because it's the second skull and the 11th skull. So are those the actual skulls of the Primarchs? Who knows? But it's an interesting little picture. Yeah. And that's a symbol of Malcador, the eye with the on the eye, flaming two-headed staff. Mm-hmm. So they're all talking. They ask that question, like, which side are they on? We don't know yet. And the Emperor is not in the room. He is taking care of something else right now still, that whole warp webway thing. Mm-hmm. And Dorn is kind of, makes that question as well. And then Malcador says, I never asked you how it felt, Constantine, to see Prospero burn. Did your callous soul blanch at that? And Constantine says, no, it was necessary. Malcador says, was it? I did not give the order. I wanted Magnus censored, not destroyed. What was it that made Russ do it? You could never give me an answer. So that's why they're a little confused. They're like, we told Russ to go there to rest Magnus. Mm. But he killed him. I didn't tell him to do that. So who did? So it was a real... Valdor was like, I don't know how that happened, but I mean, whatever. Magnus is out of the equation, So it's... Mm. So that is kind of a weird question. And Dorn says, well, Horus, of course, right? Horus poisons everything we do. So, but he doesn't know that, but it's a safe assumption. Right. And so they kind of go through a list of Primarchs, kind of seeing who's good and who's not. And they, look at the con, and they're like, we just don't know. Because at this point, they know who's on whose side. But the con's sticking out. So Valdor says, so there it is. The con's known allies, Horus and Magnus, traitors both. Because it's like, he is friends with, these guys, especially Horus, who's like, I think it's a fair shot that Scars are probably gone bad. Mm-hmm. Right. Malcador says, the Executioner and the Warhawk, that would get even Horus pause. Like, basically, if we can get him on our side, though, the con, and Leman Russ, Horus, that good luck trying to beat both of them in fight. He basically says, let's send a summons out to go bring him, see if he responds. That's the best way to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So the summons goes out, and Dorn's paths, they focus on a dark system that is way out and way out there. And Dorn asks the question again. He says, what if he fails to answer? And Malcador says, and we must assume that Jagatai has fallen too, another name to add to the tally of the lost. So if he responds, good. If he doesn't, well, then he's bad. We can't second guess it. Mm-hmm. At a place called Alexus, the Alexus Nebula, there is this void of basically dying ships, escorts lighting up, and this big space battle happening. And Alpha Legion is fighting Leman Russ and his Space Wolves. And neither of them is backing down, of course, right? And this guy, the Space Wolf named Bjorn, is hunting one of the enemy frigates down through the wreckage and finally runs into the ground and boards it. And he's cornered as the last survivor, and the guy's dying, and he's not going to be taken alive. And he asked him, he's like, Alpha Legion don't fight like this. Like, what are you guys doing here? You guys don't fight like head-to-head like this, especially against Space Wolves. You're better than this. Mm. And the Legionary says, for the Emperor, and then dies. He's like, that doesn't... Whatever. So, Russ's flagship called the Harafinkel. Yeah, let's say Harafinkel. It's pretty significantly damaged, and Bjorn heads there to reinforce the Primarch, but gets separated. And Alpha Legion Contemptor Dreadnought shows up. And we talked about Dreadnoughts before. Big slabs of just iron, steel, adamantine, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, going back when we talked about in the Angron episode, you were asked, those Ultramarines on the ship that Lotar was on, how did they get beat? It's because they had Lork on there, the Dreadnought, and they had 4 other Dreadnoughts. So, 4 Dreadnoughts against 100 Space Marines is pretty even fight, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So even one of these Dreadnoughts is still a big problem for these guys, and he's just making his way through these Space Wolves. So, and Bjorn's like, whatever, I'm gonna fight him anyways. He starts smashing at it, hitting at it with his sword, breaking its eye lenses, and then eventually he actually knocks it down, and it throws him clear, and then it picks up and has this like minigun right in his face, and all of a sudden this like wall of force goes out and flattens everything around them, and then he looks up and sees what caused it, and Leman Russ has arrived, and he basically smashes through the Contemptor with his bare hands. He's ripping it apart like an animal.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pulling the corpse out of the thing, and basically starts asking questions like, "Where are you from? What are you doing? What is this?" He's not answering, of course, so he just kills it. This waste of time.
Okay.
And he says, "You should have stayed dead." It's interesting though that Alpha Legion have dreadnoughts, because you're like, that's not very sneaky.
Yeah.
This giant stomping around monster. It's like, shh, I'm being quiet.
Yeah, a little off-brand. Now, what I guess when Leman Russ is like trying to talk to a dreadnought, like, can they even?
They can talk.
Okay, I know we've talked about like them being able to talk before, but like if they're removed from the,
if they physically could talk before, maybe.
Okay,
but maybe this one couldn't. Yeah, it's definitely case by case. Like Lork with the Angron, he couldn't talk because he's just so messed up, so he had to talk through his speaker on his machine. He can still talk enough that people can understand. Like, you remember, there's actually the scene in the book is kind of funny where he's talking to Lotara, and she like wakes him up, and she's like, "You need to go fight Ultramarines." And he's like, "Ultramarines?" She's like, "Ultramarines? You know Ultramarines?" And he's like, "Yes, I do remember Ultramarines." And then he's like, and he basically is like crouched down, looks right at her. He's like, "Why are we fighting Ultramarines?" Because they've been asleep for so long. The heresy, he doesn't even know the heresy. So it's kind of the interesting thing there where you have, like dreadnoughts are weird in a way. They're like, some of them are so ancient that actually in Emperor's Children, one of them is called the Ancient because he's like usually the oldest one. So they have weird memories. They have like, some of them can talk, some of them can't. Or sometimes their memories get all mixed up with their dreams because they can't really sleep, but they still sleep in like a weird,
like hibernation.
Yeah, like a semi-sleep.
Okay.
So they get basically put to sleep. The machine gets turned off, but the brain keeps running. So eventually kind of get crazy over time too. It's not great.
Okay.
You don't want to be a dreadnought.
Right.
So yeah, he tries to ask some questions. It doesn't answer them, mostly because it's probably Alpha Legion as well. So whatever. Kills it and moves on. So back at Chondax, the veil over those astropaths eventually starts to lift. And a message comes through, and it carries the War Master sign. And Jamulian, one of the senior commanders we talked about, summons the warriors, and he kind of is like, oof, like, because they don't even know what to do right now. They thought Horus was a good guy, but now he's in this message that the Great Crusade has been split and the Primarch has fallen into madness, and that the worlds lie in ruins. And he's like, oh, what? And it says, the homeworld of the Thousand Suns has been destroyed, the Legion annihilated, Magnus the Red is slain, his back broken, and his city laid to waste. They hit him with the back broken, goodness. And now they were close with the Thousand Suns, so this is also hard for him to say too. And this is the name attached to the crime is Leman Russ. And it says, only death awaits the traitor, so it shall be it for Leman Russ, betrayer and heretic. So Horus's message got to the White Scars first. That the Emperor's gone bad. He killed Magnus, you guys' best friend. You should go do something about that. So now White Scar's like, fair enough. We're going to go get Russ ourselves. We'll go ask him some questions.
Right.
So that's unfortunate for Malcador because his message hasn't got there yet. So, and they can't really send a message back to be like, can you explain more? Because it just takes too long. I was kind of waiting in the inbox for them to finally open it when the veil lifted.
Right.
So who knows how long they got sent. I mean, when we talk about Magnus, that was, at this point, almost 5 years ago. So
okay,
you cannot go another 5 years for another message.
Yeah.
So Torghun is a little confused, and Haibu are talking about it over a lodge meeting, and Torghun eventually says it's like his real problem. And he says, do you know we are laughed at by the other legions? Laughed at. It needs to change, brother. It can be changed, but only if the War Master, and Haibu says, hush, not here, not outside the lodge. He's bringing that into like the walk right, like, hey, well, easy. That's Lodge talk. We don't, you know, if we were still called the Lodge, I would say that's Lodge talk. We don't talk about that outside the podcast.
Yeah.
Now it's Ultra Moron. So
When he's saying like, "Oh, the other legions laugh at us," is that true in any extent?
a lot of kind of, yeah. So like White Skies are kind, I don't say they're laughed at, but they're not always taken seriously because the way they like fight is very, they have too much fun when they're fighting. They don't really, they love going fast. They love hitting enemies before they even know they're there. And they just are always just having a good time. And a lot of people are like, oh, the White Scars in their weird ways. You know, it's kind of like Emperor's Children in a way where they're kind of like Emperor's Children are kind of weird, you know? Oh, the piercings and the tattoos and the weird drugs and the surgeries. So, yeah. So it's kind of like that. But also, it could be a little much more of that. What's the word? Hyperbolizing, I guess. Like maybe somebody did say something, but it's only maybe a couple people, but he's in his head, it's like everybody's saying it, you know?
Right. Okay.
So,
yeah.
Because he also is still a little about the Luna Wolves thing, you know? He still feels a little shame about it.
Yeah.
So it's a little magnified in his mind.
Mhm.
So eventually Alpha Legion arrives at Chondax. And they don't do anything, just hanging out. And the ships deploy and they hold silently, refusing contact. And the Calgene and his fleet are holding there too, and nobody's firing, just waiting, like, so what's going on? Like, why are they here? What do they want? So eventually they get another message that says Horus has turned rogue, and the fleet is ordered to Alexus and ordered to Terra as well. Ferris killed Fulgrim, Mars is in revolt. And they get all these different messages now. They're like, whoa, what's going on? They're getting, yeah, Russ is evil, Horus is evil, Russ killed Magnus, but Ferris killed Fulgrim. Wait, no, Fulgrim killed Ferris. Wait, no, Mars is in revolt. Wait, hold on. Actually, Russ is actually at Terra. So they're like, we can't confirm any of this.
Right.
So they're getting spam mail now. And that's kind of what Legion does best, right? They mix up all the channels.
Yeah.
So, and then also Shiban's report from Phemis 4 is lost as well. So it's getting all mixed up. All these channels are getting messed up. So eventually Khan is like, all right, I'm getting annoyed. We need to figure out what's going on here. And he has this guy named Shinsha. It's Qinxa. So it's either Shinsha or Queen Sha. It's cool looking. Do I have a picture of him here? I hope I do. There he is. He is, yeah, pretty cool looking. That's Terminator armor he's wearing.
Okay.
Is their version of it. And he has like the ogre helmet on, samurai type styling with his 2 power swords. Yeah, so he's a cool guy. He is very liked. Everybody likes him. So,
nice.
Yeah, he is. So he goes talk to him, the Khan, and he says, you can probably figure this out. You're a smart guy. I trust you. And, oh no, sorry. Shinsha asks him, like, hey, Khan, what's going on here? And the Khan basically says, they're all the enemy. They always have been. Basically, he's like, you know what? We can't trust nobody right now. Like, unless we get pure message from the Emperor and Malcador themselves saying this is what's going on, then everybody's trying to get us. So, eventually, Dorn's order gets there, and this guy named Jean Zhu gets there from the astropaths, meaning it is actually the best message they've gotten so far, because the way it got to them is through these astropaths, which basically they can't lie. Like they can, but they just won't. Like, how do I explain it? It's like you trust the letters you get in the mail. But if you get a phone call on your phone, it's just like, hey, we're here part of this thing. Do you want to give us money? You're like, I don't know about that.
Right.
So that's kind of the difference here, is that like a letter from the government in your mailbox versus a phone call from a number you don't recognize. But all those numbers that are calling you are saying, they're like, oh, this guy's evil, this guy's evil. So they get this message and from Dorn, and it seems true. So return to Terra, ignore all other claims. It's in particular the War Master, who is a traitor now. And Shinsha is like, all right, perfect, finally something concrete here we can work with. But the Khan is like, wait a minute, I'm still suspicious. Because the Alpha Legion ships are still hanging out there for days. They're just sitting there. What are they waiting for? So he's starting to think, I think they're just here to hold us in place until Dorn's message could get here so that we could try to get through them and then they could kill us while we try to get out. So he says, you are the Ordu of Jagatai. We take orders from no one. We take no one's word. We are on our own, just as we always have been. And if there is truth to be found in this, then we will find it for ourselves. So he says, even with that message that you say is true, I still don't know. Because the Alpha Legion could be even more sneaky than that. So Jianzhu brings Khan another message, and it comes from Russ. And it's a distress signal from the Alexus Nebula. the wolves are under Alpha Legion attack, and they needs help. And he says, you guys get here the fastest because you're White Scars. That's what you do. You go fast. He says, thank you, brother. And the Khan's like, did you hear that? The Wolf King complimenting us. He must be desperate. They're all thinking like, okay, well, so what do we do? So Gemulan basically gives a reading out to his people and says the Space Wolves have always been renegades. Either we leave them alone or we do what we have been asked and destroy them. And so it's kind of like really either way, they're thinking about killing the Space Wolves. Either leaving the Alpha Legion to kill them or they go over there and help the Alpha Legion, basically.
Okay. Just trying to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So Jagatai Khan sees the Alpha Legion ships kind of hanging out, but he was not there for when the other White Scars were attacked by Alpha Legion, right? Am I thinking about that correctly?
White Scars have not been attacked by Alpha Legion.
Okay, was that
was Space Wolves?
Okay, got
yes.
it. Okay.
So the Alexus Nebula, the Space Wolves got attacked by Alpha Legion. Leman Russ sends out the message to White Scars because they're closed and says, "Can you get here to help us?"
Okay, got it.
Alpha Legion just showed up on the border of that system that the White Scars are just sitting there waiting.
Okay.
And the White Scars are like, well, they're not attacking us, so, but then, yeah, they're all suspicious because the conflict together. They're waiting for us to do something so they can attack us. So, yes. No, they have not touched the White Scars yet, but they're basically waiting to.
Got
it. Yes. So, Khan is really thinking about this, right? He's really kind of just mulling over in his mind. And he really kind of wants Horus to be true because Horus is his friend at the end of the day. And one of the last things he said to Horus was at Olenor, and he said, "You call, I answer." Basically, you're the War Master, anything you need, I'll take care of it. So he's really struggling with this. So the Jagatai Khan says, no lies. Tell him we ignore the Dorns. Tell him, let me start again. No lies. Tell him that we could ignore Dorn's order, but we will not. The truth is not obvious to us. We need time to uncover it. And he also hopes the news from Prospero is false as well, right? Like, hopefully Russ didn't kill Magnus. That could be a lie too. Let's not jump ahead here. So the only thing I can trust is Dorn's order because it seems to be the most trustworthy. But, yeah.
Right. And they wouldn't know that Alpha Legion is aligned with Horus at this point.
Exactly.
Right? So, assumedly, this would not affect anything, right?
Yeah, for them, Alpha Legion attacking Leman Russ is almost like, well, if Leman Russ killed Magnus, then he is a traitor. Then we should let them get destroyed.
Right.
But wait a minute. What if Leman Russ didn't kill Magnus, and then Alpha Legion is doing, so it's, as I said, there's so many different disinformation channels here. They can't make a decision.
Right, but they don't know Alpha Legion is aligned with Horus. Yeah, so they don't know that kind of aspect of it. Like,
they don't even know. Yeah, they don't even know if Horus is a traitor. Don't know who. They got nothing.
Yeah.
So kind of stuck here. So eventually someone's his navigator, and he says, he tells the navigator, this is where we're going. Doesn't tell anybody though. And eventually the fleet breaks the blockade out with a tactic called the Chisel. And it's basically it looks like they attack the weakest point all at once. Basically like a chisel or like an arrowhead type formation where you just break through the smallest part, just hitting as hard as you can. Like, you ever played Need for Speed Most Wanted, old PS2 game? You can, they have like police blockades, and they always like would tell you like the tutorial and stuff. Like, if you run into one, hit like the trunk, not the engine, because it was lighter, so you could push the car away faster instead of. So it's like that, right? The Chisel is wherever you see the small, like the biggest opening, everybody go there at once.
Okay.
I don't know how effective that actually would be in like real life, but whatever. It's space.
Yeah,
they do, and Alpha Legion, a little like, oh, okay, that's crazy. Back in Alexus, Russ is kind of waiting for the Khan's message, and he's sitting there, and there's a silence, and he realizes, oh, they're gonna leave us here to die, and he's like, well, we're not gonna die, but I'll remember that. Eventually, someone gets a message from Dorn, and because Dorn calling Russ somehow, probably through some psychic power, whatever. And Leman Russ says, I will not take orders from my brothers, only my father. He will speak to me. We will set course for Terra, not because Rogel demands it, but it's because we choose to. And he says, never, not until now, have I been truly angered. I'm curious to see where it takes me. Because now he's getting mad because he's like, wow, every White Scars want to help me out? It's just me then. Which, Spaceworlds are fine with, because, they're one of the most capable people. So they obviously push back to Alpha Legion. Alpha Legion aren't known for their fighters. I wouldn't say they're bad fighters, but they're not known for them. Like Space Wolves. Space Wolves get literally sent to kill Primarch sometimes, like we talked about with, Gilliman, Sanguinius, and the Lion on McCrag during the whole thing. So, yes. So, in a place called Sickle Moon, which is a ship, he has a dream. And his dream of the Khan dying, the Khan alone on a dead world, is fighting something that is like not fully solid, and he ends up killing him. And he doesn't really know what to take of it. I mean, he's a psycho, right? He is that storm seer. So sometimes psychers have weird dreams.
Mhm.
A lot of times they're prophetic, but sometimes they're just also just weird symbolisms of what could come to pass. Remember, what's his name during the Signa Prime thing kept seeing that image of that demon coming up and killing people, the red eyes with the big wings.
Yeah.
So there is a ship that the Luna Wolves are flying, actually end up ambushing the Sickle Moon mid-war. And Yesugei meets them alone on a bridge. They're all fighting. And he takes care of these space wolves with this light. So he has this staff here, and he shoots lightning out of it, and just kills 12 of them all at once. This guy is no joke. Got magic powers, shooting lightning. And eventually, the last one is this guy in Artificer armor, which is kind of like Artificer armor could be Terminator armor, but also be special made armor for a certain person. So this guy is coming there with a thunder hammer. So basically, Thor is coming at him.
Okay.
And he gets really close to him, and Yesugei drops him into lightning too. Forget about it. And this person says, "If you wish to kill me, witch, then do so. I shall not plead for my life." And Yesugei looks down at him, this guy with the hammer, and he realizes this isn't. Oh, sorry, Luna Wolves, not Space Wolves. Luna Wolves. Let's say Space Wolves. Luna Wolves.
I think you might have said both, and I was assuming that it was Space Wolves because I feel like Mirror Wolves don't
Right.
exist.
They don't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, so that was the weird thing. So yes, Luna Wolves. Sorry. He drops him. And he looks at him and realizes this isn't Luna Wolves green at all. It's salamanders. And then he was like, "I have no intention of killing you. If I do not deceive, you are a salamander. I have no quarrel between your legion and mine." So, and then some of the salamanders, the rest are Iron Hands and some other ones. And he's like, and so this is the Shattered Legion. Remember, we talked about. And Yesugei pulls up his helm and it says, who he is. And they say, "You know nothing of the massacre?" Says the massacre, "No, we do not. Please now tell us everything." Like he has Spawn 5, all that stuff went right past the White Scars. So if they had, once they had this information, then they can make a better choice.
Right.
So he talks about it. And then later on, a word bearer's frigate called the Vorkadar is ambushed and boarded by Yesugei and the Shattered Legion that are traveling with him. And word bearers are not hiding anything. I mean, they're obviously chaos. They love it. And Yesugei interrogates and captures word bearer Lidak. And he's not answering questions, of course. So he says, "All right, fine. I'm a psyker. I'm just going to basically consume your brain to steal your memory." And Zaven, who is that guy with the hammer, basically says, "Hey, whoa, that's a little weird. Don't do that." Because, the whole Nikaea thing. And Zaven says, "Become like your enemy, though, and he has your soul." Basically, we're no better than them when we start doing their tactics. And it's like, to be fair, it's a little different. But Yesugei's like, "All right, fair enough." So Yesugei tells Zaven the full history behind the Edict of Nikaea, and that the Khan was meant to argue the Librarius' case in person alongside Magnus and Sanguinius, but he got sent to Chondax as Horus' order right before the council convened. So Yesugei went in his place and watched Magnus' confidence backfire against the council, and he names the figure most responsible for the result. He says, and he asks, "If all not lost in days to come, who killed Librarius? The name is Mortarion. He did it." So basically, Khan was supposed to be there at the council and say, "I have storm seers. They do great work for me." And Sanguinius says, "I have my guys. They do great." But the only person who could really do anything was Magnus. And Magnus is like in the picture where he's doing the whole thing, he's like, "Look, I get it. You guys don't like us, but hey, we have all this information." And then it totally backfires because again, how did you get that information? And what are you doing all these weird secret things for? And what have you done to your med, and all this different stuff. So if other people were there, maybe we had a better chance. But unfortunately, Mortarion was like, "Hey, of course, go send Khan somewhere else." Because Mortarion does not like psychers. He hates psychers more than probably anybody. Angwan might be close, but even world eaters have a couple. Just the problem with world eaters psychers is they don't interface with the nails very well. Right. Usually it makes their powers go crazy and they end up dying or killing people, or it's a whole mess. So they don't necessarily hate, it's more of just incompatibility.
Right.
But Mortarion, back on his planet, and we'll get into it when we talk about Death Go, back on his planet, Barbarous, it was like a toxic planet covered in these acidic fumes that was caused by psychers. And they basically did it. These lords would do these smoke and gas storms to suppress the lower caste people from ascending to the top like they were. And Mortarion was at the lower thing, and he tried to climb to the top to kill these people, and the poison was so bad, melted his armor off, basically. And it was this whole scene. And so he hates psychers for that. So, yes, Mortarion was the sneaky one behind the scenes here. Not Alpha Legion, actually. Interesting. So, Shiban brings this medal. We go back to Shiban, and he brings the medal to Hasek Noyan Khan. And he says, explain this. And Hasek examines it, and he says, I don't really know what that is. I'll hold on to it, though. And he also knows where the ship is going, but he does not share with Shiban. And aboard another ship called the Sword Storm, Shin Shah is walking with Ilya Reb through the reasoning that shaped the Khan's entire response to War's work. People are kind of confused on like what's going on because even the Khan is not doing stuff without telling anybody, right? He's set this course and hasn't really told anybody. He's maybe except for like one or two people.
Mm-hmm.
So it is that the Imperium's official doctrine holds that the warp is superstition. And what they think is sorcery is just untapped power of the human mind, which is not true. It's warp power that is channeled through the person.
Sure.
And the White Scars have never accepted this. And Shin Shah tells her plainly that the warp is real and is dangerous. And the Khan and the Emperor argued over it many times. And he says, this is the great question, Zhu. The one that they fell out over. Can you rest an empire on a lie? And Rebellion assumes the fleet is inbound for Terra. She's like, okay, so we're going to go back there and like talk about it more. And Shin Shah says, the Khan has only ever trusted one of his brothers. If Magnus lives, then all this can be salvaged. If he is dead, then the Imperium is finished for us. We're going to Prospero, Zhu. The answers are there. So he's not going to Terra. He's, I need to go figure out for sure what happened to Magnus, because that was my guy. That was the homie.
Okay.
And we know that Magnus did get killed.
Right.
Well, I don't want to say killed, but he kind of got physical form destroyed.
Yeah.
And turned into like a spirit form or something that his whole thing. Anyways.
He's out of commission.
He's not doing much right now.
Yeah.
He's on the planet of sorcerers, just hanging out
Mm-hmm.
in the warp. So the Warrior Lodge has been growing since the beginning. And they're now 40 members. And Haibu Khan shows a communication device built from technology that they have no record of. This is a glowing pillar displaying glowing text from an outside source, claiming direct contact with the War Master, claiming his awareness and approval of the Lodge activity. And the message said that the fleet's destination is already known on Horus' side and counsels patience rather than open rebellion. So basically, they basically got this weird message. They have no idea how it works. It says, "Oh, we know what you're doing. Just be careful." Which interesting.
Yeah.
So after the gathering, Hasek approaches Torghun privately, and he's carrying the medal that Shiban gave him. And he asks Torghun to bring Shiban into the lodge before any conflict makes it impossible. Basically, like, this guy knows he's onto us. So maybe just bring him in and show him it's not that big of a deal. So aboard the Chinzar, Shiban and Torghun race jet bikes together. They love jet bikes because they go the speed of sound and they're just flying around these super motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
So they just have a little fun. And Torghun basically says, I want to invite you to the lodge, basically saying it's a fraternal custom. It's not a conspiracy. We don't do anything weird. Shaban sees through it directly and says, does a Khan know the lodge exists? And Torghun's like, well, I mean, look, it's he's just so busy that we just haven't had the time to bring it up with him. And Shiban kind of does the same thing that Gabriel Loken says, I'll go to one meeting. Just one, see what you guys are doing, but I'm not going to give you anything more than that.
Mm.
Yeah. He does that, and eventually the fleet reaches Prospero, and the world is dead. Scorched black. It's ruined, right? Space Wolves here, it was bad news. And they basically check and see it was attacked by mass driver bombardment, which is basically not nukes, but it's these supersonic missiles that are just almost destroy the atmosphere of a planet.
Mm.
Like it's just you're going to these planet busting materials.
Right.
So they tell the Sword Storm to use teleportation instead. But the Sensorium is like, hey, whoa, wait, don't teleport. I'm getting some weird readings here. And he says, generate a locus for the heart of the city. He says, I want to get right into Tisca. And he would materialize in the ruins of Tisca with Shin Shah and somebody else. And the first thing he does is he picks up a handful of this dust and it kind of just drips over everything. And he sees, you can't really take it in. Because last time he was here, this was grand city, right? This is this, what's it called in Mesoamerica? What was that city called?
The Aztec one?
Yeah. Like Tenochtitlan?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? It was this magnificent city, like all glass, colors, and whatever. And now he's here and it's just like gray, dead, destroyed dust. And it's a lot. And he sees this vast pyramid that is broken down. A Warhound Titan is just breaking apart. And he looks at the Warhound Titan and realizes it looks like something that picked up and Magnus did that, because he has that power. Surface is still almost warm as well from the afterglow. It's still cooling off from just the amount of just power that was dropped on it. And every library, repository, and arcana, just everything is gone. All ashes. So the one that came with him, the Keshig, is walking the dead boulevards in his bone white Terminator plate. and he sees ghosts moving through the city. And he's just like, it's probably just radiation picking up things, Like they're passing through these corpses and they see these skeletons just stripped down to the bone and larger shapes in, that the word, not word bearers, Thousand Sons colors, the 15th Legion, just skeletons. And Shinsha pulls out a long golden staff out of the ash and he sees the star and moon engravings basically far too large for any mortal to lift. And they're like, wait a minute. He's like, oh, custodians must have fought here as well. Because it's, and Shinsha asks a question. He says, but whose side were they on? And then Jagatai says, you know that, Za. Like, come on now. They came here to kill Magnus. Like, what are we talking about? You wouldn't send custodians after, they wouldn't be here defending Magnus. So a few steps later, eventually kicks this steel gray pauldron from the dust, and the runes carved into it are Angular and Fenrisian. And then it's like, oh, there it is. Because Fenrisian is the language of space wolves. So if you basically piece it together, the custodians and wolves did this together. And basically, as the choir said, that they came here and they killed Magnus, broke his back, and sent him away. So he's like, well, this is the truth of it. He says, we need to go beneath the city. That Magnus once told me that there are these caves that lead down to the city's heart. And he says, there are these caves. He told me of them under the city. We need to start there. So he's looking for something. So meanwhile, aboard the captured warriors frigate, Henricos, this guy, had found something in a vault chamber. A machine about 3 stories tall, projecting a galactic hololith 30 meters across. And the frame is hung with brass spheres that is crackling as black lightning, and it passes through ceramite as if it isn't there. And Yesugei, he clocks this immediately. He's like, oh, that's a warp energy machine. Anything to do with that, though. No, Zaven says, I want anything to do with that. Enrico's, the Iron Hands guy, says, that's probably how they got here. They used this machine. You can use it as well to get through the warp easier, because it's hard. We don't really have the same resource we used to have as the Shattered Legion. And Yesugei goes up to it, and he puts his hand on it, and he hears the voices inside it, and kind of opens it up. And the overlay shows the warp itself, basically navigator channels threading through it like blood vessels, right? This huge map. And he sees the storms that are covering some of these paths, and a single massive swath of a storm that runs across the galactic southeast, going over Ultramar. And that's the Ruin Storm that we've talked about before, the one that the Word Bearers opened up.
Right.
So, and then the second overlay they see shows a bunch of Legion icons, battle groups, expeditions, war fleets, and positions across the whole galaxy, and it's drawn from the map itself. So basically, they realize, oh man, Word Bearers have like an eye in the sky here. They have the UAVs online. They see where everybody's moving.
Right.
They see Blood Angels are moving here, and they see Ultramarines are kind of in, Ultramar, the 500 worlds. They see War Bearers and World Eaters moving through the storms, eventually moving straight towards them. And they're like, oh. And he says, I think we know too much. And Zaven asks the question. He says, does Gilman know this? And he says, well, he does now. And basically, the map is showing the run up to Cal from the Shadow Crusades. So this is a little bit before that.
Okay. So this map that's like showing kind of where each Legion are. How it's not detailed. How like specific are we talking? Are we talking like where most of them are, or like where every single?
I think it's basically everything. Everybody who's like who they like can track. So basically everybody. Like, was it the Black Ops, the Blackbird? Was it the live feed of the people moving on the map? It's like that, where it's like it's 1-to-1 warp magics. As long as there's somebody on this ship that has a warp thing, it's probably gonna be able to track them type thing. So yes, it's very, very powerful thing to have because you could just outplan anybody.
Right.
Oh, you're going here, I'm gonna go this place, So, and they try to shut it down because like, well, this can't exist. This is too dangerous. And they close one of the rooms and they try to close the second room, but it won't work. And the machine's warp interface, a face comes up out of it, long, high crown, bone ridged, blood fleshed, and it looks at him and smiles. And eventually it collapses into an inky clot and like falls and cracks against the ground and breaks apart like an eggshell. And out of it comes a skeletal, long-limbed creature with blood-red skin and curving horns. And it's bigger than any of them. And Henrico starts shooting at it, and the bullets are not affecting it. Zaven tries to hit it with a Thunderhammer, and he smashes it smack right in the chest. That should destroy this thing. And it does. And it throws him. I mean, it hits the creature, but instead the impact launches Zaven across the room. Like, returns back to him, and a hammer is knocked out of his hands. And the thing lands on him and tries ripping him apart. Tries to. Then Yesugei rips it off him with a silver lightning, And then he realizes the warp power is the only thing that affected me. My lightning affected it more than any guy's physical stuff, right? We've talked about this many times now, where some creatures aren't affected by like mortal weapons, right? Like D&D get that magical resistance, you're just not getting hit by it, or magical immunity.
Right.
So he basically channels up this lightning at it and just keeps locking it in, and eventually the creature explodes into bone and bile across the chamber. Real nasty explosion. Eventually gets to Zaven, and in the breastplate, he's covered in blood, and he realizes like, oh, the creature did get him. It ripped his neck open, and he's just leaking out blood everywhere. And Henrico tries to use some surgery tools to fix it, but it's too late. Zaven dies. And Yesugei tries to help as well, and it's just not working. Well, not dies, right? He starts going gray. Like, not looking good.
Okay.
And Zaven says, use what you saw. We should have never have done it. He says, you see what they are now. Use it. And Yesugei basically says, look, I'm sorry, man. Like, I didn't mean for this to happen. And Zaven says, just use it, Stormwitch. Find your con. And then he coughs up the blood, and then he dies. And basically, he's saying, if we had this power, maybe we should just use it. Find your guys and meet with them and tell them what we told you. And then you can give the con the most information to actually help you guys get on our side. Because definitely would if he knew all that.
Right.
Back at the Tizca ruins, the con reaches a great central square, 81 radial streets converging on a single broken pillar. And the ground under his boots starts to feel like a thin skin over nothing, like a membrane almost, real light, like a drum cover.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he hears his buzzing, like a bunch of insect wings, but his armored signs aren't registering anything there. So he's like, must be a hallucination. And Shinsha says, use your eyes, disable auto senses. He's like, you got to take your helmet off and look. So he takes off the helmet and he sees there's dozens of these things coming out of the ground. These spectral blue-white insectoid winged creatures that are twice the size of his Terminators. So these things are massive.
Yeah.
And they have these giant brains above their mandibles, and they're called the Nuin. So these things they used to be real physical giant insectoid mind predators that Thousand Suns basically hunted down to extinction. But when the planet died and the Thousand Suns went with it, these Psychonuine stayed behind as like basically became ghosts in a way. Like they reformed through the energy. Don't worry about it, it's all magic. They are translucent and they're blind, but they hunt through a kind of a psychic sense. They kind of detect you through your daredevil type sense.
Okay.
And that's why they can't see with their machines because they're not really there, but they are there as like a spirit magic form.
Right.
So they're trying to shoot him with the bolters, and they're just going right through him. But then they get tracked to the noise. So then these guys get attacked by these creatures that they can't hit. And the blades sometimes connect, but not really. And then whenever you touch one of these things, it starts sucking their life out, like a necrotic touch almost. And some of them get stabbed through with a proboscis in their head, and it sucks their brains out. It's real nasty stuff. These like giant super mantis mosquitoes. Khan tries to fight too, and he can't hit him. And this thing passes through him. The cold, it's like such this ghostly cold has passed through him, and he almost stops his heart. And he said, "Do not let them touch you. They are blind. Remain at a distance." So they all start maybe slowing down a little bit, moving out of the way. It's like, wait a minute, let's figure out what these guys are doing. So, but Maji, this Keshi veteran, right, this Terminator guy, is basically he's like, no, I can do it, and he lights up this volley, shooting behind these ruins at the creature. And he's fighting with the sword, he's not doing anything. So eventually it clamps onto him, and the proboscis right into his helmet, and sucks his brains out. Kills him right there. And Maji has never screamed before, but he screams now. Never felt fear until he feels fear now.
I would say Space Marines can't feel, but they almost did that one time. Like,
if he could feel fear, he's getting close to it right now when his brain's getting slurped up. Thing leaves him and drops him there. You can't even see an injury at all. Like it's as if nothing happened. He's dead. He's definitely dead. But there's like as if nothing happened.
Right.
And eventually Khan takes out his sword, and he's like, all right, let me try like moving with the sword. The sword doesn't make much sound, so he can do that. So eventually he hits one he actually feels something hit, like something spongy in his big head. And the creature detonates in this whirlwind of release energy, and it like blows apart these flagstones. The ground breaks apart, that little thin membrane they're on, and they fall down into a fissure. And he goes into the dark under an avalanche of stones. And he tries to catch himself and falls down, and he gets lost. And they don't know where he is because his locator goes out as well, of course.
Mm-hmm.
On the surface, Xin Sha is like, all right, well, we got to get out of here. Things are unkillable. So, but the Keshig is like, no, we're not going to leave our Primarch. We got to rescue him. And this guy Juma is caught as well and gets slurped up. It's screaming. It's not to see a space marine screaming. I'm sure isn't good, considering they usually only scream in the way of like to kill people.
Right.
So eventually, they are trying to. They're like, well, I mean, we gotta go rescue him. Like Gene Shaw's like, I mean, you guys are right. So he tries to fight. All of a sudden, this purple tinged fire erupts from the ground beneath the swarm, bursting the creatures apart one by one. Before Gene Shaw can find the source, he feels a bolter pressed against his chest by a warrior in Mark III plate. And this guy says, move and I kill him. And this is Revuel Arvida. And his picture of Revuel Arvida here. Very pretty looking man.
Mhm.
A dozen of these comedy bolters through towards Arvida, and Gene Shaw blinks. He says, hey, don't shoot. He says, who are you? He says, Revuel Arvida, last of my kind. And you? And this is a Thousand Suns guy. And there's a picture of him there, right? You can see the Thousand Suns armor on. And he's alive. And Gene Shaw says, the Khan's down the caves, you need to go get him. And Arvida says, you can't. They infest that place. So, not looking good down there for the Khan. He's going to get his brain slurped up too.
Right. So has this guy Arvida been on Prospero this whole time?
Supposedly.
Okay.
But with his powers, he can kill them, these bugs, enough that they don't affect it.
Right.
Because, so that helmet that he has, that kind of like cowl, semi-cowl thing, a lot of librarians have that because basically it keeps, it's like a limiter in a way. So every time they use their powers, it can get like, what's the word, cascade, where you can't like let it stop. You know, it's your car with no brakes. But what that thing basically is a break, where it can like, you use your lightning and then it resets you. So without that thing, it's a lot harder to use your powers without going crazy. Not comfortable. It's like these wires are like in their skull, but hey, it's better than exploding. So
Right.
you'll see that a lot with Psychers, is that type of helmet.
Okay.
So back down in that cave, Jagatai Khan hears a voice. He says, Jagatai, my friend, how good it is to see you again. And the Khan keeps his sword raised for a long time before he can see what he's looking at. And the thing in the cavern is translucent and flickering, basically like the Psycho Nuine above, but it wears Magnus' face. It speaks in Magnus' voice. But the Khan says, where are you? It says, a remnant, a dream of something destroyed. It says, put your sword down. You couldn't hurt me with it, and I have no intention of hurting you. So Khan's like, maybe. So he asks the question, what happened here? And Magnus tells him. He's like, yeah, they came here, they killed us. I mean, it was nasty, a real brutal affair, basically genocide. And the Khan is like, wow, that's what I thought. But now that you're saying it, that sounds crazy. So the Emperor sent the wolves to come kill us with the Sisters of Silence and Constantine Valdor with them. And I mean, if you're saying Constantine Valdor with Leman Russ, with the Sisters of Silence, with the Space Wolves, you don't want anything left. I mean, you're sending everybody. I'm sending the Army, I'm sending the Marines, I'm sending the Navy, I'm sending the Air Force. Like, you're sending everybody.
Yeah. So, you said it. This is one of those bugs posing as Magnus?
No, it's a similar apparition as the bugs.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a ghost. That's not a bug like trying to trick them. It's like a ghostly form.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So so it could affect them kind of like the bugs did, but it's not physically there like the bugs weren't.
Okay.
So he says, the Shade, he said, before Nikaea and Eleanor, the Khan warned Magnus to restrain his legion. And he says, you were right. And that is all there is to say. Because the Khan was kind of like, look, you might get in a little trouble here at this whole council thing. So, but then he says plainly that Horus has been eaten by the warp. Like his body's bursting with it, corroding him from the inside. Erebus and Lorgar were shadows next to him, and the decision on the end was his own, though. But Magnus' crime, the thing that brought in the City of Light, says, I tried to warn our father. That was my crime, and this is my punishment. Right? Because that's what we talked about. He, discovered Horus's corruption during that vision on the Davin Temple, sent the psychic warning, and it destroyed the Webway project because it was a little too powerful. And Russ got sent there, killed them all. But it was bad news, basically, for Magnus.
Right.
And we covered that, I think it's like 2.5, so a really earlier episode.
Yes.
So, and the reason it was such a big deal to the Emperor was that the Webway project was a ancient tunnel network that is through the warp, basically freeing humanity from navigators and astropaths and the whole warp space in general. They could basically use these, think of it like the Hyperloop if it was good. So you have a bunch of these little tunnels underground that you can just go through and nothing can get you. It's kind of carved around the warp, so no warp entities can get there. You don't need a navigator because you just walk down the tunnel forever long you're there. It's like a highway in a way.
Okay.
Chaos would eventually just kind of wither away because you don't have to use any warp powers anymore to get through travel around space. And this is ancient technology. The Emperor did not build this, he found it. A lot of different places have different entrances to tunnels from this webway. It was made by the old ones a million years ago. But eventually, yeah, Magnus doing his thing, they'd smashed through it and kind of broke a lot of it apart. And Chaos was like, ooh, I'll sneak in through here, through these cracks. And the Emperor now, since then has been trying to close it back up again. Because then the demons have now their own superhighway to get right to Terra, and that's exactly what you don't want.
Right.
Yes, that's what happened there. And he starts talking to Khan, who kind of lays the whole heresy for him. And that the Primarchs were made too well, and that nothing in the galaxy could stand against them. And the powers of the warp understood the Emperor did not. He said only we could bring down the Imperium, eternal Imperium, because everything else had been annihilated. So Chaos knew that. He's like, wait a minute, my demons aren't going to work. Don't work. Orcs don't work. Eldar definitely aren't going to work. And where? So okay, what if I just corrupt one of the best ones? Easy, got it, done. So they did, and they love it as well. The Chaos Gods find it very entertaining as well. Really, they don't have any loyalty to Horus. So Horus thinks they're on my side, they're helping me. It's like they are because they think it's funny. Like it's all a big game to them.
Right. And is this kind of referring to when he kind of took that almost Emperor?
Yes, from Relic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, and he's like juiced up with this power now that he thinks he's like, oh, now I'm so strong. It's like, yeah, but it's killing you. It's probably going to kill you. Kind of like the Witcher's nails, but Chaos style.
Yeah.
And he says to the Khan, says, you're the last one, Jagatai. They don't know which way you will go. Like people still don't know. Like what choice are you going to make? Just two paths. Basically, you hunker inside what remains of the Imperium, or remember how Horus used to be and stand at his side. King of the Khan says, I have never taken sides. And he chooses a third thing. He says, I choose neither. And Magnus laughs at him. He's like, that's not going to work. You're going to have to pick a side.
Right.
Like the war it will draw you in bit by bit until it is orbiting you and the rest of you, and it's going to wipe you out one way or another. He says, even if you don't have ships fast enough to escape with Jagatai, even White Scars will not get out. And he says, we can outrun anything that lives. He says, but they do not live, not like we do. We're like, where are you going to go? You're going to leave the universe? Can't. Chaos is out there. Concepts get a little suspicious because Magnus isn't usually this forward. And it's like offering a little too much information. And it's kind of making fun of him in a way. And Magnus would never do that. So, and it says like the Emperor, it says, I know the Emperor's like true name, where you could die, what secret Russ has, and all these different things. And eventually she's like, whatever you are not Magnus. It says, maybe not. Basically, this dream apparition thing here has been here for so long that it's like, it's become a little different now. Kind of like made out of almost grief, hate, all these different emotions coalesced. So the thing asks, okay, well, what are you here for? And he says, how to restore you. And Magnus looks down at his little transparent hands and looks around. And he says, I'm corrupted. Restore me and I shall become a lord again. I shall be the Crimson King, free to rule over a world of spells and vengeance. The galaxy may live to rue that. And Khan says, you are my friend. And then he says, I judge you know what to do then. Magnus says to him. And the Khan draws a blade and says, until we meet under starlight. Sooner than you might think, Magnus says. And then he cuts this spirit down, basically, to allow it to return to Magnus there. So these fragments that we talk about, when Magnus got broken these fragments, they need to go find them and basically return them back to Magnus somehow. It's almost, it's like Dragon Balls, right? Gotta get all 7 of them and make the wish.
Right, okay.
So he cuts this thing down, and he kind of is standing in the dark. And he thinks there's only one unforgivable lie. That is the lie that says, this is the end. You are the conqueror, you achieved it all, and now all that remains is to build walls higher and shelter behind them. Now the lie says the world is safe. All emperors are liars. So he still hasn't quite made a decision. He says the emperor is a liar, but Horus is also a liar.
Yeah, and so that kind of apparition of spirit, whatever, that is confirmed. That I guess that is Magnus, but it's a piece of him.
It's one of his like many fragments that got sent out when he got destroyed.
Yeah.
By Russ. Yeah, so by breaking that one down, it'll go back to, I think Magnus right now is in the planet of sorcerers, kind of, but not really. He's in like a weakened state. So yeah, this is saying, get all my Dragon Balls and I'll return to my true form.
Okay.
So, yes.
Got it. How many of those are there?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think 10 maybe. There's a few. Now, I think we talked about it before. His guy with the helmet with the horns on it. I can't remember his name.
Who the guy who's like carrying his...
Yeah, carries like spirit inside him, kind of, but not really.
I can't remember the name, but I know.
Yeah, like he is also on that quest as well. Okay. But has no idea where to look because it's like there's no map,
Yeah.
So eventually, we go over to Shiban. He tells what he knows to Gemulin. And Gemulin hears him out and says, "You think I would not know of this if it were happening?" She says, "They have been careful. Not really. Not with you." And he's just talking about the lodges and stuff. And Gemulin says his gossip, anti-Terran stuff that turned out to be nothing. Says, "I trust the Khan." Says, "You need to trust the Khan and go back to your ship." And hands him the medal anyways and says, "Just keep it and hold on. Even if you won't do anything with it, I just want you to have it."
But he still hasn't gone to a meeting yet, right? Or
He may have by this point, or maybe hasn't yet. I'm not sure.
okay.
Be it. Yes. Maybe. I don't know, actually. Gemini takes it and he says, "What did they say?" He said, "You do not see a problem." I do not think he would. And this is Shiban talking to Joji. This is the guy who said, "You need to bring it to the Khan." So, above Prospero, Mortarion fleets arrives. And in the Starsphere, Haibu Khan receives the news. He's like, "Oh, yay, Mortarion's here. We're friends with him." And our guy's Khan is still hanging out down there. And Shiban addresses, says, "I'm here with my 500 warriors, and only one person only one person in this legion has the authority to decide its course, and it isn't Hasek." So they're waiting for the Khan to come back out. And all of a sudden, Khan's underground with his ghost, right? Cut him down, or he's up there with the ghost, and he can't talk to them because he's down crushed under this thing, not crushed, but he's in this cave system. And Death Guard are showing up, and well, actually, I don't know if they like Death Guard, probably not. So it might be a little suspicious,
right? That's what I was thinking because I know, at least from what you said, Death Guard don't like psychers, and it seems like they're cool with Magnus, so like by association, are they kind of?
So I guess they're a little conflicted here to their friends, but they don't know. So that's kind of the thing is like Death Guard are here, but what are they here for?
Right. What does that mean?
Right. What does that mean for us kind of waiting here for the Khan to come back out of the tunnels?
Right.
So Hasek is sitting there with Hairu, and they're there with the two capital ships, and Shiban has about 500 warriors with him, and Ilya is alone, and she's thinking maybe just teleport down there, just go find him or whatever. And Yesugei is not even close. He's still way out light years away. So he's trying to get back to them and let them know what has happened. So these guys on this ship don't even know what Yesugei knows about Ispan 5, all that stuff. I mean, the Khan now knows because he's here, but they're still in the dark, these people that are on Prospero. So going back about 5 years to Eleanor, before Horus became War Master, the Khan had sat with Sanguinius, Mortarion, and Fulgrim on a terrace overlooking this parade. You've probably seen that picture before. It's all of them on that line just looking at the parade.
Yeah.
So Sanguinius mentioned that the soldiers across the crusade were taking wages on which Primarch would win in single combat against the others. And Mortarion wasn't amused. He says, "While he was leading us, we fought to gain even a glance or gesture from him. That was acceptable. For none of us are his rival. Now we will fight to gain a glance from Horus, but Horus is not the architect of this. He is just one of us. It will lead to trouble." Fulgrim writes up his jealousy. It's like, "Yeah, because you want to be War Master, you big baby." And the Khan says, "No, he speaks truth. It should have never happened." So it should have been used as Fulgrim? I wouldn't have taken it. I have no use for another title. In Mortarion, speaking of the Librarius, the Khan, Magnus, and Samuel have built together, says, "There will be a reckoning. I'll be there when it happens, and I hope you'll be there too. Some fights are too important to be left to advocates." So there's a little bit of the heat. There's some heat there, but not like violent heat, just like they have disagreements.
Right.
Yeah, so back to Arvida. Eventually, Khan comes out and he sees Arvida and he says, "You are the last?" And Arvida says, "As far as I know, because all the other 1,000 Suns are in the warp and the planet of sorcerers."
Sure.
And then Shin Shah asks whether or not the Khan found what he's looking for, and the Khan says, "There is no traitor. There's only a web stretching out back in time, clutching us all, and now it comes for us." So all of it was true, but all of it was also a lie. So it's like they still have no new information here. But what they do know is that Russ did do this. They know that's true. That Russ had tried to killed Magnus, basically, as reported. But behind both of them stands Horus. And that's the problem, is that they're like, Horus could be the architect of either one of those. That making Magnus do the wrong thing or making Horus do the wrong thing.
Right.
Eventually, they see these ships start to show up in space, the Death Guard ships. And he says, "He has been on my heels since Eleanor. He has finally caught up. Do not try to prevent him. He's beyond all of you. How can he not be? He is my brother." So he's getting ready for Mortarion to show up, and he's getting ready to deal with him. So Mortarion arrives at Tisca with his Death Shroud, and his Death Shroud are his elite guys. And he meets the Khan alone, and he admits that Horus didn't send him at all. So are you, Khan says to him. And why not me, brother? I assumed it would be Horus. Then he has many things to keep him busy. And Mortarion says, a galaxy of warriors, a galaxy of hunters, where the strong are given their freedom, a galaxy in which there is no dead hand at the tiller, constraining us, lying to us. The Khan is like, what role does Horus play? He says he's the start. He is the champion, the sacrificial king. He may burn himself out to get to Terra. He may not. Either way, there will be room for others to rise. The Khan's like, I can see your point. But, he says, you have completed your great mission, but there are more sorcerers than ever. Horus has sponsored them. Lorgar has shown them new tricks. You've destroyed the librarians only to find the witches are now untrammeled. They played you well. You have done their work for them, and soon you will be dragged into it yourself, as warp-sick as they are. And Mortarion says, you've run out of friends. Who will stand with you when the Aether Weavers now? Angron? Kurz? You tasted the fruits of treachery and found them bitter. You are on your own, brother. Oh, no, sorry. Jagatai says that to Mortarion, as Mortarion basically says, you will have a place in Horus's new empire. And Khan says, by the time I make my kills, I'm always laughing. Because Mortarion never laughs. He's always in those sour, dour mood. And Khan's always has a big smile on his face.
Yeah.
So, they start fighting. Finally. Primarch on Primarch fight. It's a big, superhero fight. They're making their way through the pyramids halls, knocking down books, all these different things. And eventually they get to a room, this obsidian floor traced in silver with an eye of Magnus inlaid in gold beneath them. And it looks up and you see the sky above them. And Mortarion is just eating all these attacks. He is just not getting phased by any of this, right? He's all about endurance. Even though he always looks sickly, he is very endurance built. High stamina, high constitution.
Yeah.
And the Khan is starting to feel something here when he's fighting him. He's like, I feel a little tired. Oh, wait a minute. You get me a little exhausted here. He's like, I've killed thousands of orcs. I've brought down creatures the size of a warhound, titans with nothing more than trivial startings. But yet Mortarion is slowing him down, because that's how Mortarion does. He just wears you down.
Okay.
And it's like, it says he's like building entropy itself. Like you're fighting against it, you cannot stop. Unstoppable force versus immovable object. Right? So Mortarion is getting a little cut, he's getting a little hurt, but he just keeps moving. And he starts laughing. He says, never had it this hard, huh? And the Khan offers his brother the same door Mortarion offered him. He says, you can also leave as well. You can be back on our side. I'm sure there might be some, trials and stuff, but still, you can give up, all of Horus' craziness. And then Mortarion says, he is hobbled by his own mistakes. The throne room is a den of nightmares, one that he cannot leave. The field is open, it is ours to claim. So Mortarion has seen the political here.
Right.
And also Dorn, Valdor, and Malkador said the same thing, that the Emperor is bound to the hidden war beneath his own palace, unable to leave it. So basically, that Webway project has locked the Emperor up. Everything that is like the Emperor, and that's a kind of interesting thought too, is like, what if Magnus didn't do that? Would Horus have even gotten this far? Probably not. If the Emperor could send out like Valdor, the 10,000, him, and just go take care of, it would have been over in like a year, probably.
Right. So, with what you just said, I know the Emperor is tied up, or the Custodies also tied up with that? Okay.
They're helping him in that war.
Okay.
Because it's a lot. I mean, it's thousands of demons just pouring out, trying to get in every day. So it's just constant fighting.
Got it.
Malkador is there too helping. Dorn is there just reinforcing the Golden Palace just in case the Siege of Terra happens, which it does. And Mortarion knows it somehow. He knows that's what he's wrapped up in. And he says, all futures are dark now, and you have no idea what Horus has become nor the Emperor. They are both monsters, but you have chosen the wrong one. And he says, you think you can behead me like Fulgrim did Ferris? And Khan misses, and he says, what? He says, oh yes, he's dead. The numbers are against you already. They will only get worse. So we didn't know that. He didn't know Ferris died. So he's like, we're not, we can die? So eventually Khan gets an opening, and he does a little faint stab, and he drops low with the final thing, and gets under the guard to carve a long gash across his chest, and it cuts deep enough that the blood starts coming out. And they're both starting to get tired here, sweating, getting winded, and actually have the picture of it here of them fighting. That's kind of what's going on there as they're moving their way through.
Yeah.
Even that stink cloud that Mortarion's always got.
Is there a reason, and maybe it's just because he's downstairs, that Mortarion is he seems so much bigger than
because he wears big armor. He's pretty big. He's tall, not like muscular. He's pretty thin, but he's pretty tall. I think I don't know if he's the tallest, but it's probably that's also the stairs is that they're probably more on the same height. But Mortarion wears a Terminator artificer armor.
Okay.
Whereas Jagatai wears his own armor, but it's lighter because he likes to move around. He's very all about movement, and Mortarion just walks you down.
Okay.
So it's just different styles.
Yeah.
So they're both just fighting, getting tired. And Mortarion eventually stops, pulls back, and he looks like he's listening to something. And he says, all right, we're leaving. And he tells his death shroud. But before he leaves, he says something. He says, half your legion already declared for Horus. And he says, so the choice has been made. Our ships are at war, brother. This is not what we were promised. But I will not lose the fleet for this fight. Mark it, though. This thing is eternal between us now. You and I are face bounded in this place. It was here that it started. As Mortarion leaves him with that. And Mortarion and his death shroud are teleported away before the Khan can get that finishing blow. So back aboard the Swordstorm, Shiban and Torghun are fighting each other because that is what was revealed. That this lodge actually was bad. And that everybody in the lodge was on Horus' side. Who would have thought? Shocker. And Shiban says, what did they promise you? And Torghun says, nothing, it's about loyalty. Loyalty? Horus is a war master. Why do you resist it? That is not enough. You know what you've been used. Used? Where is the Emperor, brother? We're the Legion at his side. Look at the world below. Look at it. Give this up. You can still call it off. I have my orders, Shiban. So they're fighting. And it is kind of back and forth. The problem is Khan can't get back to his ships because they're too busy fighting up there. So he said, Arvita, open up a path so I can get up there. And let me send a signal. And Arvita is like, okay, it will hurt me, but okay, I guess. And eventually sends a signal out, and one person catches it. Ilia Rebellion, she catches it out on the bridge with no armor and no weapon. And she's yelling through this thing. And she's like, the teleport platform, get me to it. And she yells at, who's she yell at? Shiban, that's who she's yelling at. So the platform about 200 meters away across this crisscross firing. And she's not a space marine, obviously. She's a regular human that needs to get to this teleport platform. And if one of these bolters hit her, she will just turn to mist. So it's like, Shiban, you need to get me over there. And he's like, it's kind of busy right now. So Shiban is like, fine, okay. So he picks her up like a little kid and is like running down that thing, kind of doing that little, what's that meme where it's like the princess in the giant armor knight with the giant shield and the arrows are flying at her or whatever. Let me see if we can find it. It's kind of like that knight, this one. Like that, but instead he's like 3 times her size, and yeah. So he's carrying her down there and running, and he's getting hit just because he's just running through fire. And she says, who do you think opened the docking bay doors? I've got a lock to understand. Get me there or watch the Legion destroy itself. So Shiban starts moving, and he says, don't struggle, just hang on. So he's picking her up and just running, and she's probably getting concussions, just getting rattled around. So he's getting hit a lot. He's a shell to the right shoulder, almost takes him out, a direct hit to the leg that destroys his like knee guard, and gets shrapnel in his knee, and he's dropping down to his knees, and his body, he's getting up, and he gets hit in the back, blows up his power pack, he's getting hit in the leg again, then he's like almost passing out, and eventually a plasma bolt gets him, and he is just getting caught here. But he keeps going. He eventually gets so close up his and he throws her there, because he's like, I'm not going to make it. So she crawls to the control point, and she punches in the codes, while these bolter fires is going around, and the platform ignites. And out of the flare walk the Terminators in their bone white plate. The Khan, basically on his knees from exhaustion, and his face, is all beat up still too. So Shiban is unable to move at this point. He's coughing blood. He's not looking good for him, but he sees the Khagan come home, and the Khan takes off his helmet and he looks around. And he sees what Legion has become, and he sees, as if they see him, some of them break off in confusion. He walks in the heart of the firestorm with the Keshig around him, these Terminators, and wherever he's moving, the fighting dies. Because he's not even wasting time. He's not trying to talk. He's like, you guys betrayed me, and that's it. So they're killing, and he eventually reaches the command dais, and Hasek is waiting at the throne. And the Khan climbs the steps, and he looks down at Hasek. And Hasek has known him for a long time. I mean, they've been together for, I don't say 100 years, but it's a long time.
Right.
And Jackson kind of says, what madness is unleashed here? And Hasek says, it was for all of us, for the Legion. And he can tell he's like, you're lying to me. And Khan asks him another question. He says, you knew I would come back, or did you also plan to keep me away until the fleet was secure in your hands? And Hasek said, I wish you would and the War Master reunited once more. That was my only hope. Hasek believes himself, and he calls their side kind of faithless in a way. And Horus is called Legion, and Legion must follow, because he's the War Master. And the Khan says, you have been lied to. And Hasek says, but Lord, you gave no command. And Khan says, you were told to wait. Do not end this now. Give me time. Let me explain. He says, there is no more time. So Hasek raises his sword to try to fight him, and Khan locks his sword with him. He knocks the sword out of his hands and stabs Hasek right through the stomach, right? And he picks up the ground one-handed and takes off his helmet and looks him face to face and says, you were given freedom that no other lord would countenance. Thus do you repay me, and thus do I strike you down. So he takes him out. Doesn't kill him, though, mind you. He just takes him out. Basically crippled.
Okay.
And Yesugei fleet finally arrives with the message to say, hey, they're bad guys. Like, The Death Guard is already engaged with the fleet, and the White Scars are unresponsive. And so the Sickle Moon, that's the ship that Yesugei is on, is trying to basically draw fire from their ship to let them recover because they're getting beat up here. And the Sword Storm then also gets in the way and takes this shot. And eventually the Death Guard withdraw because they're like, okay, there's too many of them. We got to get out of here anyways. So eventually Khan and Yesugei speak to each other for the first time in months. And Hasek survives his wound, but he, Torghun, Haibu, and the other conspirators are confined to await formal judgment under the law of Altak, which is some old law from another planet. And so they're kind of locked up way in the ship prison. And Shiban survives too, barely. Ilya tells him that at his bedside that in another legion with wounds like this, they'd be talking about a dreadnought. But White Scars don't use dreadnoughts. We talked about it before because it's too restrictive. Like they move through the planes with freedom and all that. To be put in a dreadnought is antithetical to what they believe.
Right.
So he asks about Torghun. She tells him he's in confinement. In judgment, the Khan makes his determination. And she leaves him with a line that kind of goes all the way back in the day. Says, you will remember the joy, Shivan. That is the difference between you and them, the scars and the others. You will laugh when taking up your blades. So that's their whole thing, right? They love fighting. They love moving quick. They love it all. But a lot of these traitors are not smiling. There's so much hate, so much meanness. It's all bullies,
Yeah.
So
are most of the traitors the ones that were not born on their kind of own planet?
I don't know. I don't think so because I think a lot of them just came from that planet, but it was mostly just because they're loyal to the War Master. War Master's in charge. You do what he says.
Right.
And they don't have all the information like the other legions do. So they think that is the right thing to do is to join Horus.
Right.
But the Khan is like, but wait a minute. I need to get more information. We don't know. So eventually the Khan does get more information, but he comes back, it's already too late. Hasek has made the decision, but he's like, and that's why they're like, Hasek can't make this decision. He's not in charge. So yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Khan tells Yesugei the truth about Alexus. He basically says, I want Horus to be innocent. And that is why I hesitated. Not to deceive you or treat you guys. I just had to make sure. And he says, because is what I wish for, because I want it to be true. It was easier, of course. The one my heart leapt at. And then he says, and if we learn anything from our homeworld, is to distrust the path of ease. Comfort leads to decadence. Every worthy thing is difficult. Just pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Raise the dream again. He says, look, I had a vision of you on a dead world, losing to something that wasn't fully solid. And Khan assumes it was probably Mortarion. That's what your dream was. Like probably Mortarion, and he left kind of the solid. I don't know. It's a metaphor. And yes, he is like, I don't know if it was that. And the Khan says, so when the hour comes, whatever the fates demand, the White Scars will be on Terra. So they have made the decision. Yesugei is on the Emperor's side. At least it seems that way.
Right.
So and that's kind of where we end here. Any questions? I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. It's just what the White Scars are doing.
So I guess that ending right there when they're like, oh, talking about Jagatide possibly dying something that's not fully there. Do you think that is Mortarion, or
it could be a demon?
Yeah,
or a spirit like Magnus, one of Magnus' spirit forms, or
right.
So it's hard to know. This is what Hebrew Khan looks like. I don't think I showed a picture, but he painted face and all that.
Nice.
Also featured Lehman Russ, big plate armor. I mean, this guy comes at you, it's not good. But yes, so we don't really know. I mean, it's luckily with the one with the Blood Angels, we kind of saw that like, oh, we found out pretty soon what that was. It's probably the demon, but they didn't know. They'd never seen a demon like that before, so that wasn't for them. But it could be another demon for the Khan, but we don't know because we just don't know. It could be Mortarion. Could be, and that's the hard part. Really, is it metaphorical? Like something that isn't really there, like Mortarion isn't really there, like physically, like could be physically not there, or is it like he's not really there in a way of like he's not the same Mortarion he was before that you remember, it's, or is it like Magnus' spirit? So it's tricky because it's like kind of general,
right? Not
interpretation,
very specific.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I don't know. This was interesting because it showed a little bit more conflict like within one legion. I think that's all this because I feel like we haven't really seen that as much. Where like people inside the same legion, I guess a large chunk of them are conflicted on what to do. Usually it's like, oh, the Phemis, okay, yeah, I'll go do that. And then there might be a couple stragglers that are out.
Right. And that's, because I remember you asked a while ago, like, are there infighting in legions? Like, yes, because some of them don't. Some of them think Horus has a good idea, but some of them are like, no, that's crazy. Really, I mean, it's not even that far from Olenor. Olenor was only like 5 years ago. And the heresy, like the Davin Moon thing, that was maybe less than a year after he became War Master. So it's like, people didn't even have time to even get used to him being War Master before. So it's like, also it's like, well, I still like the Emperor. So to me, he's above Horus.
Right.
It's like Horus hasn't proven himself to me, so it becomes this weird thing. It's like, This isn't my father. He's my grandfather, right, with the Emperor. So it's like, he's like kind of like my uncle that's like the president, you know?
Mhm.
So it's kind of a tricky thing where it's like, yeah, especially with White Scars, they had no information. They
Mhm.
just got off this campaign and then they find out everything bad has happened. And like, well, is any of it true? Who knows? You know?
Hmm. I don't know.
And then Khan's like, I guess I'll go figure it out. And he did. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, these guys are bad guys.
Mhm.
Sure. So,
Yeah.
but his White Scars were like, no. Like, Heisig was like, I'm making the decision. And then they're like, you can't make this decision. So, yes.
Yeah. Got you.
Some of the runes, those are all like warp infused runes that help him against things. So,
Okay.
they're all psychers. I mean, they're all doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. And so I guess the White Scars version of that is the Storm Seers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They use that staff with the bones on it.
Yeah.
It is almost like Mongolian. I forgot what they're called. It is a thing in old Mongolia. They would be these. I mean, I can't remember what they're called, but you ever play Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah.
You know the guys with they were the purple. They had the thing and they would like chant and it would make other guys harder to fight.
Yeah.
Those are real things back in the day. That would use prayers and like I don't know if they use drugs or whatever to like enhance the fighters. It was something like that. So it's very kind of based on that type of thing. And that's why I like the White Scars. I think all that stuff is like really interesting and like makes some sense based on like world history of 40k. Like it's humans, so wouldn't culture carry over time? Like that's why the Ultramarines like, oh, it's Greek. It's like, but that doesn't make sense because Greeks are ancient. I mean, I guess just so is Mongolia, but Mongolia still exists today,
right?
With their culture, with the horses and stuff. You know, instead of horses, they use other speed bikes. But so it's like, not really many of them have like a real human culture like the White Scars do. A little later on with like I think they're called the Carcharodons, maybe, where they're basically space sharks, but a lot of them are like Pacific Islander looking.
Okay.
And they have like shark teeth and like the tattoos and stuff. So they look cool too, but that's like that's like 10,000 years from now.
Right.
So yes, you get a lot of that cool cultural stuff. And also I think their conflict makes more sense. Like they just didn't know what to do.
Right.
Because I mean, you like all these guys, especially when Khan says, oh, that's my brother. I trust him the most, but it's like I want it to be true, but it obviously isn't. He obviously is doing something wrong. So yeah, I think it's a lot more earned, I'll say in a way.
Yeah, I liked how they kind of set this up where it wasn't just like, I don't know what to do. It was more like, oh, well, Magnus and Horus are like my guys, but then also I don't have all the information. Like it was a good way of making it
smart.
Seem a bit more realistic.
Yes.
Just being like, okay, I'm gonna go with the first thing I heard. All right, let's go.
Right, like even Mortarion. Like, what is Mortarion's reason for being with Horus? I don't know. The Emperor's kind of like mean to me one time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like and Angron is just Angron, you know. So
yeah.
And Fulgrim, like even Fulgrim, you go back to when he turned, it was just because like Horus was like, don't you trust me? Don't you think I have like a good idea?
Right.
Obviously the Lair Blade, so that I'm sure it accelerated some things, but it's very like a lot of them just join because like, yeah, I guess you have a good point. But
yeah,
it's very this one actually is genuine conflict. But also this is like the 28th book, I think. So it's definitely at this point we've had enough writing to establish things, and like, they probably didn't realize there were going to be so many books, so they had to kind of get some of the stuff out of the way early. So
right.
But yeah, if that's all, then we'll wrap it up there. You got this far, do the likes, do the subscribe, do all that stuff. And who is your favorite? If you've got this far, get a comment. Who's your favorite Primarch or Legion? Anyways, until the next one. Bye.